Christopher Paolini said some fun things on Twitter that I think it'd be fun to kind of dig into. I don't know what kicked off this conversation with him. I guess he was just thinking about this one day. He tweeted, and I quote, "Some days I'm tempted to go back and take another pass on Eragon, but then I think I'd rather write news stories. Even so, the temptation is there." That is a very fun idea. It's a very interesting idea. How do you guys feel? Because I know that Tolkien very famously did this with The Hobbit.
Yeah. So Eragon is an interesting one because it was written by a teenager for teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're talking about that was kind of the charm of it. And really, you're talking about an adult going back and rewriting a teenager series. And I get the inclination. I get why he would consider doing it because I'm sure he's got however many decades more of experience as a writer now. I'm sure looking
he's
back
tougher now too. He's like a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Did you see the sword fight that he had at like Dragon Con or whatever that was?
No.
Oh yeah. He had a sword fight with some other author. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, I did see that. That's like
yeah.
That was actually pretty cool. But keep
cool.
going on the main point.
But no,
Don't get distracted.
That's gonna be hard to do in this podcast. It's kind of the modus operandi, right? But no, yeah, I get the inclination, but I think it's hard when you're talking about something that was written. A big part of the appeal was that it was a teenager, and you're reading it as most of us read it as teenagers, and we said,
yeah,
oh, it's amazing. Someone my age wrote this, or someone somewhat close. So I don't know if it would be the best move, honestly. And I think kind of what he's doing now, he wrote a sequel book or like a spin-off called Murtaugh.
Yeah, Murtaugh.
And I feel like that's probably a better move, personally.
That's what I was going to say, too, as someone that didn't read it, was it would almost make more sense to do almost like an adult version in the same world, but not rewrite the same book. Because obviously I've never read it, like I said, but I know of it. Everybody knows of it, especially it's like one of the main dragon books that you know. It's probably one of the main reasons dragon books are popular. I don't know. But
for sure,
to me,
Mike was bored reading Eragon, apparently.
Mike's bored reading everything. I don't think there's a book that Mike Molman actually likes besides his own. Love you, Mike. I do think I agree with you, and I haven't read it, which is funny. I think if you went back for a very popular book and changed it, then it would not have the same appeal. It wouldn't have the same vibe that it has now. And I think as someone, I mean, out of the three of us, I wrote Tales of Battle 1 in 2016, 2017. That's a long time ago. My writing has changed, so I understand the desire looking back at my book being like, I want to go back and redo the whole thing because I'm so much better now than I used to be. But like at some point, you don't want to get trapped in that, I don't think. I mean, he can because he's super famous and rich and everybody loves him, so it doesn't matter. But
Paolini listed in a different tweet, he was kind of talking about this for a little bit. He mentioned two other authors who have actually done this. He mentions Tolkien, and he mentions Stephen King, who reworked the first Dark Tower book at some point. And both of those, like Tolkien with The Hobbit and Stephen King with The Dark Tower, they didn't go back because, oh, stylistically I'm different. They went back because, oh, I need to set up this thing that's important in this next thing. And I didn't think about that when I wrote the first book. So I wonder if he's approaching it from that perspective. Like, oh, there's this cool thing that I wish I'd set up in book one that I did not.
Maybe.
So I don't know if he means that or if he means stylistically he would do things differently.
I feel like probably both, but I feel like at the same time, anything that Tolkien did, we probably shouldn't try to redo because Tolkien was also very known to be like messy. Not messy in like our version, but like messy in his world building was so complex and all over the place. Like we all know that.
Right.
So the reason for him going back and redoing stuff also has to do with books and pages upon pages of craziness before all of our technology existed. So to me, that's a little bit different. Stephen King, I'm not a Stephen King fan, but also crazy prolific. I mean, his diligence and everything is pretty unparalleled, I think.
So
Well, Tolkien was like the Tolkien example is interesting because when he did that was like in I think the when did he change the Hobbit? Was that the 50s or the 60s when he changed the Hobbit?
I think it was actually like the 60s, actually. I might
Because
be
this
wrong.
this wasn't like going through and updating ebook files, or it wasn't
Right.
going through like databases. This was like, we are out of copies of The Hobbit. We need to print more copies of The Hobbit. He's like, oh, I should make a quick change to these new copies.
Right.
It's
Let
it's
me go
kind of
get
it
my
was a different
typewriter.
world. Yeah.
You know, one thing I did want to say too is, I mean, let's be real. Eragon is pretty derivative, and I think when you look at it as written by someone who's a teenager, again, writing it for teenagers,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
totally
it
fine.
doesn't. Yeah. Not every book needs to be a masterpiece.
Right.
Every book needs to be entertaining and fun, and I think Aragon accomplishes that. Even
Right.
though it does kind of the same things that other books also do.
Well,
Um,
I was gonna say, if it's, if you go back now and rewrite it, and you have all these years of experience and all this stuff, it's not gonna be the same thing. It's not gonna be this kid writing it, and you can kind of hand wave away all of
yeah,
the very clear, you know, uh, the very clear influences and all that, and being derivative and all that. He would really need to change the story so much to make it something different.
yeah.
And then
And
how much
I
different
mean,
do you make something that you already made? Like, how much different do you make something, and how does that translate to the
right,
audience? I mean,
well, I would view it as just make it a new draft. For
yeah,
writing Song of Bones, I wrote that several times. Each time was completely different. So, but I never published those early versions.
right,
If I had, then I'd be stuck with them. Uh, one one of the reasons why I kind of dragged my feet putting out the first book for Song of Bones was I was like, I have to commit to this, to
yeah,
these decisions, and I can't add things later. Um, so it was interesting, that first experience, that first feeling of, okay, I have locked this down in this world. It's published, it's out, I can't change it. Short of fixing typos and new editions.
right.
I'm not changing anything from the story.
I mean, Tales 1, I kinda did that. I had, like, 4 beta readers for the first book, and they were like, "It's
Mhm.
missing something, it's doing this," and I was like, "Man," and I went back and I added a whole 'nother part of the world, totally redid it, but that's all pre-publishing. If
right,
I
Yeah,
would never
yeah,
go
yeah,
back
yeah.
and maybe I'll go back and take things out or implement a couple things I know going forward. But like I mean, now I've done Tales 5, so looking back, I've seen the transition in how I view the world and how it impacts my writing. So I can only imagine writing something as a teenager, how you
Mhm,
look at it
mhm.
then versus how you look at it now and how it reflects on you. But it doesn't reflect bad on him. Everybody knows him because of it. So
right,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think it's enormously encouraging, especially to aspiring writers, to read early works written by authors and they aren't as polished. Like, oh, this is where he started. Oh,
yeah,
this is where I
sure,
know him from. So I think having that out there is a very special thing. Um, I really wish that George Lucas still had those original versions of Star Wars, because we could see, all those old effects and how they did things. And but he would do he did the Tolkien thing where he would go through and he added little things here and there, and that's fine. It's his project, but I wish those old things were still there, were available somewhere.
yeah.
right.
That would be
For me,
really
if it
cool.
was terribly flawed, it'd be different, right? If it had a bad reception, if it wasn't still perceived as one of the great dragon novels, if it wasn't still perceived to be like, "Hey, this is Aragon, everybody has it on their bookshelf," type of thing, then
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, maybe, but it almost to me would be purposeless. Maybe not purposeless in him. I mean, as an author, we don't know. We all have our different views of our own work, and I
Right.
Yeah.
understand, but like how much does polish versus just a good story go? I mean, that's a question we as indies ask ourselves all the time. Like, does this have to be perfectly polished? Are the elites going to be like, hey, this doesn't match up to Tolstoy level stuff, which most likely it's not going to, and it's not meant to. But like, how
Mhm.
much does it have to be polished and perfect, or how good does the story have to just be? And that to me is interesting. That's an interesting topic as far as this goes, as far as Aragon goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that I wonder about. I wonder if he's got this notion to kind of rewrite Eragon because Dragon Rider fantasy has become so popular lately.
That's
Like,
what I
if
was.
I think it's because he's working on scripts for his Disney Plus
uh,
series. I think that's kind of what where his mind is. He's
Mm.
writing scripts for the TV show. He's like, oh, I'm making improvements in the TV show. I wish were in the book. So I wonder if that's also where he's kind of living.
I could see that, but to me, as someone that didn't read it, and I mean, as an 8th grade teacher, I know that kids don't read really. But the ones that do read, which I did have one, she read every single day. She would not even listen to me in class, and she would read. And I was like, whatever, you're reading a book. It's fine.
Mhm.
And she passed all her tests, so I don't care. But my point is that, like Mike said, having a book, first of all, it's good enough to publish, and that's good enough, and that's written by a teenager that teenagers can kind of like see themselves in that, opposed to us writing about a teenager, which is vastly different, regardless of how we go about it, no matter how good we are at it. There's a certain feeling that I think you can get from someone at that time in life that it gives. And I think it would change that feeling for a teenager. And like I said, just write another side novel that's 20 years later or whatever that reflects you, and it'll reflect purposely perfectly. And I think that would be super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I read Eragon as a teen, and it was very important. It was a big pillar in my formative years, I feel like. So he definitely wrote something specifically for me,
yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
So
I felt the same
like
way.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I could what if a book really grabs me, I'll find myself I'll read a section where something happens, and I'll kind of freeze, and I'll think, okay, if I was in that situation, what would I do? What would I say? If I find myself doing that in a story, you've got your hooks in me. And Aragon had me doing that throughout the entire story, just imagining I was there in that world and just having fun with that. So I'm pretty sure with his new Aragon stuff, he's definitely going back in that world, writing a more mature version of it. He's definitely,
Yeah,
enjoying himself. But yeah, that's a fun that's a fun thing to do. I guess a fun position to be in, where
Oh
you
yeah.
can go through and rework your book a little bit for a new medium, and looking at the old thing, like, I bet I can make you a little bit better with not that much extra effort.
Did you
yeah.
read it as a teen too, Mike?
Sorry.
Did you read it as a teenager too?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so do you both feel like, because once again I didn't read it, do you both
Mhm.
feel like it would come across different from an adult? Because you both write. So do you
Right.
Oh
feel like,
yes. Oh
okay,
yes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
because
That's.
that's important. If
I
you
think.
even know that without even like, without going through it, then that's important, right, for the novel.
I think
Mhm.
that was the biggest. Honestly, like I think that was the biggest selling point, and one of the reasons Aragon became such a hit. When it did, was because it was a novel, and at the time you got to remember it was also there wasn't a lot of indie novels
Mhm.
back in the day. Indie novels weren't even really a thing unless you were talking about people paying to publish their own memoir or something like that.
Well,
So
Wool was a thing, and I think The Martian was a thing around the same time as Aragon.
The Martian was indie?
Oh yes,
yeah,
Martian was published on a website.
Did not know that. Okay.
And the
yeah.
people who loved it, like, could you please make an ebook so this is easy to read? Because they're just scrolling through the website reading it.
Huh. Did
And he was
not
like,
know that.
oh, I guess they go to Kindle. And he
So
self-published
how
on
long was
Kindle, and
Eragon self-published before it became trad published? Because it's
not
trad
very
published.
long.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
I think they started going to book signings at like little bookstores and
Wow.
like libraries and coffee shops, and they were selling like crazy because he had a fun cover. Well, I think what really set him apart, I loaded in the cover. We can look at it. Um, his I don't think this is the original cover. Is this? I think the original cover was just an eye, right? Or was
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a different cover.
okay, okay. Because
Um,
I know that his father did the cover.
yeah.
He spent
Really?
weeks in Photoshop just making a dragon's eye,
Wow.
and
So to this point, I remember when I first heard about Eragon, the very first time I heard about it, it was at either a bookstore or like a Scholastic sort of thing. And they made a big deal about the fact that like this teenager self-published this book. At that point,
Yeah.
it was probably already picked up by a trad publisher, but the story is what they were selling. Of there's this kid that published this book. You should read it.
What if he never grew up? Could you rewrite it then? You mean if Paolini never grew up?
I mean, he still would have changed after that amount of time. I mean, did he ever really grow up? He's still sword fighting at
If
Comic-Con.
Paolini was Peter Pan, I think he would have different problems than worrying about his book not aging well.